Now that I know what I know, I start the conversation all sorts of times. As soon as I realised the difficulties, I told my sons to set up the power of attorney. I've been out walking and I've talked to friends about it, or they've been here for dinner, or I just think it's really, really important to share my story and help people realise that it's not something you do when you're old. I think there's a misconception that it's something you think about when you think you might die, where in fact, who knows what's going to happen to us and when it's going to happen. So it's something you should think about as soon as you're financially responsible for yourself. And that, no, it doesn't have to be a formal setting. It can take place in sort of group work settings and whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, it's just, if somebody has knowledge, it's just a conversation you have with friends to share that knowledge. The first thing I have done is say, do you have your power of attorney set up? And if the answer to that is no, then my next question is, why not? And I would use my story to explain why I think it's important to do it immediately. Don't wait, don't put it off, do it now. And it's, it's just another topic of conversation. There's nothing frightening about it. You don't know what's going to happen in your life. You don't know how you'll cope with it. You don't know what you're able to deal with and what you're not able to deal with. And the last thing you want is people in positions of authority making decisions for your life partner, when actually it should be you that's doing that. My husband and I had both taken early retirement and were making and planning a whole new future for ourselves. We were living part-time in Italy. We bought a house, we were renovating the house, we were having a great time. And in 2016, we were in Italy. We were planning on coming home from there in October or November, and in our diary was to go to the solicitor and set up the power of attorney. But unfortunately, in the meantime, my husband took a brain hemorrhage. And from that point on, apart from, dealing with his illness and his disabilities that followed and the trauma of being in Italy and everything else, his disabilities meant that I had to apply for guardianship. And that took a full year to apply for. It's very expensive and continued to be very expensive, and no doubt will still be costing me money, even though he's since died. We're not talking a lot of money. We're not talking a horrendous process. You can do it online. Or I chose to go and sit with a solicitor and do it. It took half an hour, paid the bill, and that was it. As in, if I'm setting up power of attorney, who I could grant it to? Well, I've granted it to both my sons. But anybody, a spouse, I mean, if we had done it when we should have done it, we would have granted it to each other. Or another member of your family, or a very close friend if you don't have any family. It has to be somebody that you trust implicitly. Yes, it is giving away power, but it cannot, you're not giving away any power while you still have the capacity to make your own decisions. It's only if the time arrives when you don't have that capacity, and that needs a GP, or I'm not sure, maybe somebody else, I'm not sure, to certificate that incapacity. So, you're hoping, what you're doing is, okay, you're giving them power, but you're giving them power to look after you. The difference is that if you have power of attorney, then if the person loses capacity, then it's very easy to implement that power of attorney. But guardianship is a long process that requires you to go to court and prove your ability to look after somebody. I don't know what actually physically happens when a power of attorney is implemented. But I'm pretty sure that it doesn't take a full year of speaking to lawyers, being interviewed by doctors, being interviewed by social workers, various social workers, having your finances looked into. I don't know, just about, I felt as if every part of my life was being picked apart in order for a court to accept that I was capable of looking after my husband. And not only that, but power of attorney in relation to guardianship is very cheap. I have spent in the region of £10,000 over the past 4 years on lawyers' fees and doctors' fees and court fees, and the Office of the Public Guardian, who oversee power of attorney and guardianship, their fees and insurance guarantees. It's absolutely horrendous, the amount of money and the amount of work that has to go into a guardianship order. At the moment, if you have no money, then you can get legal aid for a lot of this guardianship costs, but it generally only applies to the initial application. It doesn't apply to renewals and all the other work, and whether you get legal aid or you get extra support or not, it still costs you money every year. My experience was that for that period when I was waiting on the guardianship being approved and being granted, that social workers and doctors and care providers were making the decisions for my husband. Now, I'm a fighter, so I fought any decision I disagreed with. And I think I maybe was fortunate that, being a fighter, I got things changed, but not everybody has that strength and not everybody has that ability. If you don't have a POA, the first thing that happens is that your family or friends or somebody has to work with social work and lawyers to work out how you're going to care for the, so if I don't have one, then my family have to work out with all these people how to care for me. You also leave yourself open to unscrupulous relatives, because anybody can apply for a guardianship order. Now, it's expensive and whatever else, but you can choose to pay it out the person's finances if they have it, and you may end up being looked after and your future being decided by somebody you really don't like.